He's got 18 prior misdemeanors, 8 or 9 probation violations. He scores an 8 on his pre-trial risk score with 8 prior failures to appear.
Almost every day, Canyon County Deputy Prosecutor Kimberly Bratcher and Canyon County Sergeant Travis Engel weigh their options about which Canyon County jail inmates they can cut loose.
We're sitting here flipping a coin, deciding who's worse or better to get out of custody. You know, when I got into law enforcement, I didn't sign up for that.
As the population has increased in Canyon County over the last 15 years, overcrowding has remained an issue. In 1991, the Dale Hale Detention Center was built as an addition to the original 1940s jail. And back in the 90s, the county population was just over 90,000. Now, the population is just over 217,000. With that increase, overcrowding at the jail has gotten to the point where there is simply not enough room for all the inmates. So Engel and Bratcher recommend people to a judge who can sign off on pretrial release.
It's always a gamble, and it's always nerve-wracking. We obviously don't want to let the wrong people out who are going to go and do something.
The pair won't consider releasing people charged with crimes of violence or DUIs, but over the years, they have had to relax other guidelines, allowing people with felony drug charges or probation violations to be released.
So with that history, he's not going to do well on pretrial release, but the crime's a misdemeanor, and we're how many over I saw in males today? 10?
Yeah,
15?
roughly.
There's almost always somebody in there.
You ever seen another facility that resembles this?
No, in my 18 years in the different jails that I've been to, I have never seen another jail like this in my life.
Dale Stafford is the lieutenant in charge of the Canyon County jail operations, and for 15 years, he has worked here in the jail, watching, as he says, overcrowding has made things more and more difficult on a daily basis.
And there are times during busy days that we may have 10 patrol cars lined up around the corner.
So there's a line to book people in?
Yes.
The jail has so many inmates that the county routinely has to send inmates to other jails, costing the county over $1 million in recent years. This year alone, the county has spent close to $300,000 already. But it's not just overcrowding creating the issues. Lieutenant Stafford says the design of the jail is simply flawed.
30 years later, and we have cracks in the floor from concrete not being appropriate depth, and we have issues with structural engineering. We have issues with you can't build on, you can't build up because it's not sound enough to do that.
In some portions of the jail, things like bathrooms had to be added after the fact because they were simply forgotten in the original plans. And some bathrooms that were included forced jail deputies to use them in clear sight of each other. For men and women on shift together, this setup makes things very uncomfortable.
It's all open on the top.
Yeah, that's not a lot of privacy. There's no privacy.
No.
Across the street, the jail holds more inmates in their tent facility. It opened in 2006 as work release housing, but now houses full-time inmates instead. And because it wasn't designed for that, inmates keep trying to escape.
Absolutely poorly designed. Not something anybody else would do.
122 inmates can be housed here in the tent facility, and it is consistently close to full. Overall, a jail ideally should be at 80% capacity. That way, there's room for the daily influx of more inmates.
The more people we have, the more problems we have, and we are at 96% capacity today.
Through the month of April, for example, the male jail population hovered towards max capacity, while the female population was almost always at or even over capacity. When the jail is over capacity, more inmates may be sent out of county, housed in holding cells usually used for initial intake, or given pretrial release.
I don't want to have to pay for a new jail, but we need to pay for a new jail because for the safety and security of my family going forward, if an inmate's a violent inmate, they need to be in jail. They don't need to be out on the street violating somebody else's rights.
As deputies figure out where to put inmates every day, they say they keep their fingers crossed.
Hopefully the courts release them, because we can't release them. We don't have that authority.
Back in the prosecutor's office, the team continues to do just that, making pretrial release recommendations for a judge to sign off on.
Okay, well, he's pretty much not going to come back to court, but I'd rather keep a felon. I will work on getting him out.
We're just going to have to keep doing this every day, and it's going to get worse and worse who we're letting out.
So far, none of the people who Bratcher and Engel have recommended to be released have gone on to commit a serious violent crime. But the pair agrees that without a new solution, the clock is ticking.
We haven't, that's the whole concern, right?
Right.
It hasn't happened yet, but it's a matter of time.
Right. We know it's going to happen.
In Canyon County, Joe Paris, Idaho's News Channel 7.